Welcome to Chapter 7, Using Management Skills to Build Business Relationships. Some topics we'll discuss in this chapter are the activities of managers, the roles of managers, what are managerial skills that would be expected of you in your job, and some trends seen happening in management. The four main activities of management is to plan, organize, lead, and control. Planning involves setting your objectives, deciding what resources you need, and setting up your strategies. Organizing involves designing the jobs that you need to complete your goals, creating the organizational structure, setting your policies, and allocating who will get what resources they need. Leading involves motivating, communicating, resolving conflicts, and managing change for your employees on a daily basis. Controlling means measuring performance and making changes that are needed to meet the goals that you've set. There are four types of planning that leaders are involved with: strategic planning, tactical planning, operational planning, and contingency planning. Strategic planning is done by upper-level management or the CEO of a company. It's the grand vision that they have for where they want the organization to be in 1 to 5 years. Tactical planning is done by upper levels in management, and they're responsible for implementing the strategic plan. Their goals are usually met within a year. They're shorter term and more specific than strategic plans. Operational planning are the day-to-day specific policies and procedures that supervisors follow. This involves the day-to-day work that is planned out and is accomplished in order to meet the tactical plan. Contingency plans are usually made up as you go along. These are decisions that leaders make to deal with an unusual or crisis situation. Near the end of 1999, you could see lots of industries gearing up for the Y2K computer bug. That is an example of contingency planning. This meant that cities stocked up on gasoline and diesel fuel for emergency vehicles. Hotels stocked up with food and water. Stores had paper and pen backups so customers could pay. The Red Cross set up National Disaster Operations Center. Can you give me examples of contingency plans industries put into place after the 9/11 terrorist attacks? What kinds of things are the airline industries doing now? Financial institutions, the U.S. Postal Service, did they implement contingency plans after the anthrax scares? How about the telecommunications industry? How about shopping malls and large attractions like Disney World and Disneyland? There are three main levels of management. There's the CEO and vice president or upper level management who are at the top, and they're responsible for the vision and the strategic plan of an organization. Then there's middle level management made up of division heads and regional managers. They're the ones that are responsible for the tactical planning. They coordinate resources and the plans to support that vision. And at the bottom, there's the supervisors, team leaders, and foremen that are responsible for carrying out the day-to-day missions. When you're in a position of leadership, it's important to understand that there are different types of power that you can draw from. There's 5 main sources of power. Legitimate power is given to you because of the position you hold in an organization. For example, the President of the United States has a legitimate position, and he can make certain decisions, and he'll be backed up by the Constitution and Congress because of the position he holds. This is very different from let's say someone like Martin Luther King. He didn't really hold an official position of power, although he was able to be very influential, get a lot of things done, and numerous people followed him, he didn't have a legitimate position like the president did. Reward power is when a leader has control over rewards. A supervisor can have control over things like a person's paycheck, bonuses, time off. Coercive power is when a leader uses control over punishments. A supervisor who threatens to fire an employee or dock their pay if they're late. Expert power is someone who has extensive knowledge in their field, and because they're considered an expert, they're given respect and people usually go to them for help. Reverent power is when someone has a lot of charisma and they can earn the respect of people and their admiration and encourage people to follow them because of their vision and because they believe in that leader. You can probably think of numerous examples through history. I'd mention Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, the list goes on and on. There are many people who don't necessarily have legitimate power, or they don't have control over rewards, and they don't use coercive methods, and they may not necessarily be an expert in their field, but they can gain the respect of a huge number of people and encourage them to follow them. Think of some of the supervisors or managers that you've worked for, and what kind of leadership style did they use? Maybe they use more than one leadership style depending on the situation they were in, or maybe they use one leadership style all the time. For example, some leaders choose to be very autocratic. That means they're very directive and controlling. They like to tell people what to do and they don't want any input back. There's usually a one-way form of communication. That means communication goes down, not back up. An example of this would be the military. Leaders there don't necessarily want to be viewed as likable. They want a clear chain of command. They want workers to do what they're told, especially under high stress situations. And within some organizations, this is the most effective form of leadership. Participative management refers to a more democratic form of governing or working with employees. This means that managers or leaders solicit input from everyone, and then they can vote on a decision. Consensual management, also a part of participative, they encourage the group to agree on the final decision. You see this a lot within labor groups. And then there's consultative. This means that the leader talks with employees, but in the end the leader makes the final decision. The free rein or laissez-faire type of leadership means that members have a lot of freedom. Leaders are basically there to give them ideas and information and resources, but the leader generally doesn't get involved unless they're specifically asked. You see free rein leadership style a lot within scientific research groups or within think tanks.